Welcome to The Street Live, everyone. I'm Jeff Marks, standing on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with Jim Cramer. Jim, we're seeing a sell-off today. Interest rates are rising. We're seeing a big sell-off in tech stocks. What do you think here?
It's in your hands. We're not that oversold. We've made some sales. We sold when we said that we had too much stock. We made some sales. I'm anxious. I watch an Estee Lauder. Maybe at 300, you get back in. Wells Fargo, maybe you get back in at 44 if you haven't bought any. But overall, what's happening is a very predictable situation. Powell said that it's not transitory. And if that means that it's not transitory, at least it's not going to be over fast, he has to raise rates. So that's what everyone's anticipating. Now, I know you're probably at home thinking, but wait a second, 30 years at 2, big deal, 10 years up a little bit. But it's a percentage basis. You have to think about what the percent is over where it was. And it's rather jarring. And that's what people think about.
So you're saying if interest rates were rising at a very slow, gradual pace, the market would be able to digest that news very easily, but a little bit too much, too fast, freaks people out.
Yeah, and so what happens is people say, well, wait a second, and this has happened time and time again. I've got to sell FANG. Amazon's not doing that well anyway. I got to get an Apple. What they don't realize is that the way when I created FANG, the idea behind it was not that in any given year they'll all go up. It was that these companies reinvent themselves. So if you look at Alphabet, that had been an underperformer, so that's an outperformer. Look at Amazon, that had been an underperformer, that was outperformer, then underperformer. But if you stuck with them the whole way, you did great. And if you accumulated some when they were lower and you didn't sell any, well, you know what? I think you'll be fine. And we've made some great buys of these. And you could say, well, listen, why don't we just sell the last of Facebook? And maybe we should. I just think that I feel like we're playing with the house's money. And with the house's money, my dictate is that let it run. So I know that these are the stocks that get sold the hardest because they are these long-dated assets. I also know that people come back to them once companies report. The bank stocks, I think Morgan Stanley is going to have a great quarter. I thought the Wells Fargo was very disappointing, the downgrade today. But overall, I just say, look, this is business as usual. And I expect the NASDAQ to be down for a couple of days. And I'm just going to say, look, there's no need to panic. It's just a bad rotation. And that's what it is, and nothing more than that.
Let's focus in on these NASDAQ names, because yesterday on Real Money, you highlighted how even the best of breed are selling off, and it's the FANG stocks, whether it be a Salesforce. So from a learning perspective, what makes one of these tech names a best of breed company?
Well, I think that what you want is faster growth in the average stock with margin expansion. That's what Salesforce was. You also want to see other legs to the stool. Amazon adds advertising. Alphabet begins to monetize YouTube well. Facebook starts getting Instagram to have a lot of ads, and maybe Metaverse. Netflix, a whole new slate. Microsoft raising price for Windows. These are all things that make it so that when the smoke clears, you go back to these stocks. But they are always sources of funds right here. So, if let's say you wanted to go buy American Express, you just use Good Financial. Well, you don't have new money coming in typically. So you just, I'll sell some Facebook. There's nothing to it. The rotations are about taking money from something that's not doing well and putting in money which is doing well. And you're almost always putting the money to do well. They're putting it in DuPont at 72. And I want to sell it at 72 because I just endured the 60s. But now they want to come in. So what I'm saying is that those who come in and buy the cyclicals, they tend to be late. They're just late. And when they come in to buy the banks, they will be late when the companies report. We talked about Bank of America. Bank of America is breaking out. But you know what? Natural gas is breaking out. It doesn't matter. You're not early. I would rather take a look at Bristol Myers. Maybe they get this money from this Acceleron. If Merck buys it and they own a big stake, maybe they do a nice buyback. I'm trying to find stuff that's down, not stuff that's up. But people like to chase, and that's not what we do.
Yeah, and to your point, Jim, about those FANG stocks, they are constantly reinventing themselves, and I think that's it makes them such a great multi-year story. Now, Jim, I do want to turn to the Fed, and specifically Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. He's speaking in front of Congress today, testifying. So obviously what's going on with the supply chain, that's going to be one big issue, and whether the inflation that it's causing is temporary or more longer lasting. So what are you looking for when Powell speaks?
I had Lance Fritz on last night, CEO of Union Pacific. And he's talking about an endemic situation where there's 1.2 trillion in wealth a year ago. Now there's 4 trillion, and that people don't need to work right now, and they're going to wait till their money runs out. And I think Powell has to address the notion of the resignation era, people wanting to not do what they were doing and having enough cash to be able to be mobile and be able to do something new. I think that the truck driver regimen, they're going to have to be paid more. But what can Powell do about the containers? So what happens with the containers? They come from Asia. They go to the West, and then they go to the East, right? When they get to the East, they're empty. What is the reason why you would possibly ship those containers back if they're empty? And that's what we're up against, is that we are not a nation where we're sending other than grain stuff over there, but we're taking the cars, and typically both the cars could stay in. They wouldn't necessarily be empty, but there's so much activity. We're importing so much right now because of COVID, because people at home. I mean, this movement of people at home is constantly underrated. It's also constantly underrated that I was just rereading last night Trailblazer by Mark Benioff, and he just talks about the importance of the skyscraper, the importance of being in the Ohana, the importance of the lobby. Well, you know what? These are all gone. Like people just. I was supposed to send a CEO last night who said, "Listen, we just moved from January to February. Thousands of people. There's just no." Nobody's in the same place that they were. And the immigrants, where'd they go? Well, you know what? President Trump shut them down. By the way, if you take a look at UK with the drivers, they have a total shutdown on immigrants. And I've always felt these are terrible. I think immigrants have the right. Well, my grandparents were and great grandparents were immigrants, and I don't think we should be as. I like a melting pot. And one of the things that you like a melting pot about is that they're jobs and people can do well and raise families, go to schools. I mean, these are all good things, but we ended that. We ended it. And the few times that we have ended it in our history, it's not good. But we don't have enough people in the country right now who can work.
Yeah, big focus on jobs will be not this upcoming Friday, the following Friday when we do see the September report. Now, Jim,
I don't want people to buy yet, okay? I don't. Watch Tesla. Look, maybe it does turn around today. What's the ratio? I don't see what the ratio is. It's not the ratio.
You're looking at the volume.
Down to up. It's not what I would like. But I just think this is a good time. It's so difficult to do nothing. It's just difficult. You know, I look at Thermo Fisher Scientific is down 20 points. I say, oh, I want to get in that. But no, and then people, like, if you listen to Dr. Gottlieb and he says that maybe it runs its course by November, you don't want to own that. I can find a reason not to own everything that I have reasons to own. So when I have that, I say, wow, let's just not get aggressive. And if you can sit in your hands or you can buy, where we sell Estee Lauder, what price?
Oh, it was Thursday afternoon, somewhere in the 3 teens. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if that went under 300, I'm a buyer. I think that if Abbott, now people decide that buy next now is not really important. I think that's really wrong. I think that people testing like crazy. Abbott's interesting to me. AbbVie, if we open up, is interesting to me. Disney down 3. If you haven't bought Disney, there was a very negative downgrade about Disney, but I thought it had no gravitas to it. But it's nothing's at the level that I say, wow, I can't believe it's gotten to that point. Nothing. So, I mean, when I look at I'm going to be doing some writing today, and it's basically going to say about what no man's land is. And no man's land is where there isn't anything that says that's screaming by. No screaming by.
So another bat on the shoulders type day. Now, Jim, I do want to get your thoughts on
what games left.
Phillies need a sweep if they want any shot at the playoffs.
Phillies need a sweep, and Atlanta's got it easy because they play the Mets. Those of us who follow baseball, you have to understand we're down to the wire here, and it's been a really interesting season. And football is important too, but I think people, it's almost ever since COVID, like it's just weird. I mean, like people don't realize where we are in a football year and a baseball year. But I was going to use a baseball analogy, and then I realized, geez, maybe even
out of date.
Yeah, out of date. Yeah. really incredible.
Yeah.
And, like I was telling someone, we have some easy games coming up. And people said, well, okay, but who after that? I said, no, this is it.
Mm-hmm. All right, Jim, I do want to get your thoughts on what else is going on with the Fed. So we had 2 resignations yesterday, Robert Kaplan and Eric Rosengren. Rosengren on health reasons. Kaplan is resigning amid scrutiny over the trading that's going on. So do you think this churn going on within the Federal Reserve poses any risk to Fed policy?
I think it might pose risk to Powell. I mean, maybe Biden says, look, I don't like what went on, and they fire Powell. I think Powell's great. By the way, I think that Kaplan was great. I met him. I think I wish he hadn't traded, obviously, when I ran the money for a St. Louis Fed president, and I wanted to buy Ford Motor Credit paper. He said, are you kidding me? That's so embarrassing. We don't buy anything on the Fed. We just do treasuries. We sell everything when we could get on the Fed. So that, of course, was a long time ago. But I just feel terrible because Kaplan has been, I know immediately someone was saying, yeah, but he wasn't even buying what he should have if you're listening. I just think that this cancel culture, he's been canceled. And having been canceled several times in my life and then made a comeback, I just hope he can make a comeback. And I would do anything to help because I think he's a very smart man. Has done a lot of good things. So I just pointed out.
All right, no, that's important. Jim, I want to talk vaccine news. So Pfizer and BioNTech, they submit initial data for the vaccine for children between the ages 5 and 11. Now, how important would if it would be approved for them, how important would this be potentially to get kids back into school, which we could then see women and more adults
really
return back to the workforce?
Gina Raimondo, Secretary of Commerce, has been saying endlessly that one of the problems with the workforce is that kids are at home and the spouse that it falls disproportionately on is the mom, and the mom can come back to work. That is important. Then there's this Gen Z and Gen X problems. Those people are busy. A lot of them are busy. They got money and they're trading Robinhood and they're buying calls. I have made several pleas to people who call themselves apes to just be careful. Okay, don't sell puts. Don't get caught up in run and gun. And I've been met with such hatred that I want to double down and say, please be careful. I mean, I have seen people end their careers by selling puts in an environment like this where it looks like it's a cheap thing. I've seen people end their careers by buying out-of-the-money calls. And I know that you hate me for saying it, but I've been in business for 40 years. And then you could say, well, listen, Jim, you said these things with Aaron Task or whatever, and which were totally taken back. But, people can discredit me very easily. And that's fine. I mean, I've been trying to be honest all my life. And what I'm trying again is to warn people that they could lose a lot of money. And don't. Save the money. Go buy high-quality stocks at Procter. Go buy some Procter. Good dividend. J&J, if it goes under 160. I mean, these are not what I would buy right now to trade. But I think Wells Fargo, I mean, look, the Fed, Jay Powell threw one line out about the cap, and it was interpreted as being that he wants the cap on Wells Fargo. Charlie Scharf comes in there in 2019. He fires everybody, even changes the board. What more do they want? They want him to resign? No, he's done their bidding. So, I just am urging the people, because I'm thinking about Vlad Tenev's piece this morning, I'm just urging people to do some investing. There's, 50% of those people trade options. They all seem to watch us very closely. And I'm not saying don't trade options. I am saying don't trade options with all your money.
All right, Jim. Now, I know everyone's dying to hear your take on the big Ford announcement. But before we do that, let's hit cannabis, because I know it's a sector we haven't really talked about in a while. Aurora Cannabis reported, I can already tell your reaction by your face. Revenues down 20%. So let's just get your take on the sector.
Okay, cannabis didn't work. What happened is that the federal government didn't go. The Canadian market is too small. Everyone got too excited. And now, I mean, people aren't drinking it. They're not smoking it. I mean, there's True Leaf. You go down to Florida, you can get True Leaf. But I just find that it was just a momentary blip, and there's not much there. I think Scott's Miracle Grow, and I think there's a REIT that we followed, industrial properties, that's good.
IIPR.
Yeah, that's been very good. But all together, I mean, if you this whole group is worth a fraction of what it was, and I don't find anything.
So you think when this group was running hot, I want to say it was 2018, maybe 2019,
Right.
people probably thought we would have gotten legalized throughout the
Yeah,
country,
it didn't.
national approval.
It didn't.
Yeah.
The Democrats come in, it didn't. Even though like Cory Booker from my state is not. It's not my New Jersey. Like my wife would say, my state was like your state. Like she says, I said, oh, we lost last night. She goes, oh, do you play for the Eagles? Were you suit up? Are you like in the back there? So we're not that. But I do worry about gaming. Now, Endeavor made this interesting acquisition from Scientific Games, and obviously it was good. It's the B2B. But there are a proliferation. When you watch the NFL, you see all these ads for all these different gambling companies, and there can't be this many gambling companies 2 years from now. So that's another sector that I think is too high. I think that sector is too high.
It is interesting because we know a lot of states could use some of that tax revenue, but at the same time, a little bit too slow there on the approval front. Now, Jim, let's get your take on Ford. Huge announcement last night. $11 billion project with SK. Ford's investing $7 billion themselves in battery production, 2 plants in the United States. Huge news. Let's get your take.
Okay, so what you should be thinking about with Ford is that the company recognizes the future and is spending the money on the future. I think the smartest thing, they're building battery plants. The big gating factor will be batteries, and they're taking care of that. It will not be semis. It'll be batteries. So I thought it was just terrific. I suspect it will be down at a certain point today, and you can buy it. Remember, today's going to be down very big. And it's going to be down very big because you're going to have to hear Powell. Remember, we're going to hear Powell say all this stuff that's negative. So the people who don't watch us are going to say, wow, that was negative. And that's that second wave of selling. So don't get caught up. Wait till the end of the day for them to just buy.
All right, that's the show for today. We're going to leave it right there and go to our Action Alerts Plus video right after this. We will see you tomorrow.